What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, yesterday, some news broke that Nintendo was doing some weird stuff when it came to orders for Paper Mario. In fact, many people's orders have just been outright canceled, and we'll go over exactly what's happening here today. Also, we are going to be talking about new details around PlayStation 2 games coming to the PS5, and then we'll also be talking about Grand Theft Auto 6, as Take-Two has narrowed down that release window, and it's about where I figured it'd be. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton, and if new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below, and of course, members of the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that and support the channel further, you can click the join button down below this video. And we're gonna start today with Toys for Bob seemingly teasing an announcement of some kind. Now, this is over on their website currently, which is pretty basic. You can see this image here. I mean, that's it. That's their entire website at this time. The rest of it's all blacked out. And people were looking at this and immediately thinking, oh, this is Crash Bandicoot related. Well, not quite. See, Spyro Universe over on X pointed out that that is their newer logo. So instead, now people are thinking, okay, this is maybe teasing a new Spyro game, considering it is purple. And they've used this before in the past when they've teased a different Crash game, and it was sort of that orange color scheme. In this case, though, being purple, yeah, I'm kind of expecting a Spyro game to be announced here in the near future. We'll see. I mean, think about all the stuff we have coming up here pretty soon with Summer Game Fest being, I think, a good spot for it, but it can really happen at any time. And with the relationship right now between Toys for Bob and Microsoft, where they're basically contracted out, it's probably a project that they had completed before all of that happened. So we'll see, again, I think in the coming month or so, probably a new Spyro game getting announced. Also, there was a lot of discussion around Assassin's Creed Shadows with the protagonists and historical accuracy and stuff, but there was something else with the game outside of even the $130, $140 editions. There was something that had to do with it, an online connection that was needed for a single player game. Well, we do have that cleared up a bit here. We can see this posted up over on their account on X, where they say, wanted to share some early information on the upcoming launch of Assassin's Creed Shadows following some questions we've noticed in the community. Assassin's Creed Shadows will not require a mandatory connection at all time. An online connection will be needed to install the game, but you will be able to play the entire journey offline and explore Japan without any online connection. We've seen this before with other games where basically the disc that they ship with doesn't have all the info on it, and maybe it's because they don't want to ship with two different Blu-rays. Actually, that's probably what it is, to cut down on their production and manufacturing costs. It's easier for them to have the disc than call an additional 50 or 60 gigabytes of data, even if they use the dual layer, like the 100 gigabyte Blu-ray discs, they still don't want to have to package two of them in there. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. You're gonna need an online connection to get the rest of the files, after which you can play offline completely. Oh, and of course, we do have Summer Game Fest right around the corner, and Jeff Keighley decided to show off all the different partners that'll be participating in the event. We can see this posted up over on his account, where he says this June, more than 55 partners will join together for Summer Game Fest. Now, this taking place 5 p.m. Eastern on June 7th. And of course, they're gonna have a whole live kickoff event and stuff where it basically be like a little E3. And you can see all the different companies that'll be taking part in some way. It could be announcements, it could be live demos during like the in-person events that'll be ongoing. But like Xbox is in there, PlayStation, Ubisoft, Warner Bros, PlayOn, Meta. I mean, there are just a ton of different companies here. So yeah, we should see all kinds of different announcements. I didn't see anything with Nintendo here. However, Jeff Techley says that there will be more announced, and some they won't even announce leading up to the event, probably just to hold back at least some of the surprises that could be there. But of course, looking forward to Summer Game Fest when it happens on June 7th. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Nintendo doing some weird stuff leading up to their next big release, that of course happening next week, with Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. And it's a game that I really liked from the GameCube. It's basically the same kind of game, obviously, with as like a remake, touched up. It looks way better, and they have some quality of life stuff thrown in there. And yes, I'll probably be picking it up just because I really liked that game from back in the day on the GameCube. And it'd be fun to, I guess, revisit it again, just with a new coat of paint and that sort of thing. But One of the big parts of this, I think, is getting it physically, because there's some weird stuff going on with some of these different orders. Now, this we can see was shared over on X from Wario64, who was quote tweeting another person saying, not sure if this is widespread, but it looks like Walmart will only sell Paper Mario Thousand Year Door in stores, and this appears to be a directive from Nintendo. Online orders are just getting canceled, and they're offering $25 off a future order as an apology. And what's interesting is this appears to extend to Amazon as well. In fact, if you look over on Amazon's website, they just don't have it in stock at all, physically, even digitally, for like the codes that you'd buy it, and then they would have a code show up in your Amazon account. Even that's not there. At this time, Best Buy, GameStop, Target, they're still offering this, but that's for now. We'll see if that changes over the next few days, as this seems to be something that is happening very, very recently, in the last like 24 to 48 hours. And in fact, over on Reddit, there's an entire thread that is ongoing where people are just like, yeah, it's the same thing happened to me. I did get $25 credit, which is cool, from Walmart, but I had it all set up for that physical order, and now I have to kind of look elsewhere for this. And it seems like you'll have to go in store at Walmart to pick this thing up. And it's very strange for this game, because I mean, I didn't really have any issues outside of the typical, oh, it's delayed a day or two through Amazon for different Switch games, first party ones included. So very odd stuff going here. And that's the thing. People are now trying to figure out why exactly Nintendo, apparently it's a directive from them, would be canceling these orders. And I mean, there's a few things it could be. One, Nintendo could legitimately just be pulling back on some of the manufacturing for the Switch games, as clearly behind the scenes they are full speed ahead on their next system for development with their different studios, and probably starting to get their manufacturing stuff all together. And that would include cartridges for these different games. But still, I mean, you feel like you want to get as many games out there as possible to take advantage of the current install size for the Switch that they've spent, like 7 years building up at this time. The other thing you could think of is them maybe trying to avoid any issues when it comes to games leaking out, since we see these games break street date even by like Amazon shipping these things out early. But it's Paper Mario, and the game technically already is out there in the form of the GameCube version, so they're not exactly spoiling any plot details, nothing like that. Even if they have some additional content that they haven't necessarily shown off towards the end of the game, it's still Paper Mario, and we've already been able to play it. But I wanted to bring it to your attention just in case you had an order in online through Walmart or Amazon. May want to double check that order, because there's a good chance you're going to have to go looking elsewhere. And I guess at this point, we have to assume this could be one that isn't necessarily stocked heavily if a lot of these online orders are being canceled. So you'll definitely want to get a physical copy of this one to make sure you have in the collection. Next up, let's talk about more information around PlayStation 2 games finally becoming available to PlayStation Plus Premium. It's not like we haven't had PS2 games before, but they were games that were ported in the past to the PlayStation 4, and they just are backwards compatible for the PS5, or you can even think of remakes or remasters of older games from that PlayStation 2 generation that Sony was basically passing off as PS2 games going in to PlayStation Plus Premium, but not using, say, an emulator like we have with PS1 or PSP classics. Well, it does appear that that's about to change. We discussed this very briefly yesterday, but now we have more information around this entire thing, with Gamatsu following up on the story, going over the listing that was available for like an hour on the PlayStation Store, but that was long enough, of course, for the internet to take screenshots of it and get all the information down. This is over on Gamatsu, where they say the Star Wars Clone Wars is to be the first new PS2 emulated title to come to PS5 and PS4. So yes, this will be available on that PlayStation 4 console. Its release date is listed as June 11th. So this should be part of next month's wave of classic titles. And that's exciting. That means that, yeah, the next update, we should see this. Now, in the store listing, they do mention new features such as up rendering, rewind, quick save, custom video filters. These all things we expect from any of these games that go through the emulator like we have with the PS1 titles. And on top of this, we have this excerpt from that store page saying this title has been converted from the PlayStation 2 version to the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 consoles, providing those newly added features. Consequently, there may be times where the title plays differently from the PlayStation 2 version, or where some features may cause the title to not function properly. This version does not support PlayStation 2 consoles peripherals, therefore some functionality may not be available. So this is probably going to be just a disclaimer that they'll be using in all these different PS2 titles, just to let you know, hey, your DualShock 2 controller will not work with the PS5, which a shame, obviously. We have some screenshots here too, by the way, we can kind of blow up here and show off a bit. And yeah, I mean, it looks like an up-rendered PS2 game, but that's what I really wanted from the service, because that PS2 library is so vast. There's all kinds of stuff they can pull from that selection. Of course, licensing pending with some of that stuff, but the fact that Disney seems to be on board and we're seeing a Star Wars game be the first one is interesting. I wouldn't have expected that, but still really cool to hear about this, because while we know about one title, there's always a chance that another one could surprise us from that PS2 generation to show up alongside of Star Wars Clone Wars. So we'll keep an eye out. But at this time, if it is there in June, I'm going to start expecting more and more PS2 games head into the service every single month. And I'll admit, that would make the announcement for PlayStation Plus Premium significantly more exciting than pretty much we've had this entire way. So hopefully this is something we see next month, and we have a nice steady flow of PS2 games going forward. We'll see. Next up, let's talk about Grand Theft Auto 6, which that trailer drop is like the most popular video game trailer we've ever seen, especially with the hype linked to it, the anticipation, the wait from GTA 5 to GTA 6. I mean, it's all there for a massive release at some point, right? That's what we're trying to figure out. When is this game actually releasing? Because at this time, it just says 2025. Well, Take-Two did give us a better indication as to the release window for this game in their latest earnings call. We can see this is posted up by The Verge. This is from EA and transcribed here saying, as we enter fiscal 2025 with positive momentum, we expect to deliver net bookings of $5.55 to $5.65 billion. Our outlook reflects a narrowing of Rockstar Games' previously established window of calendar 2025 to fall of calendar 2025 for Grand Theft Auto 6. We are highly confident that Rockstar Games will deliver an unparalleled entertainment experience, and our expectations for the commercial impact of the title continue to increase. Yeah, GTA 6, when that releases, is going to be massive just for gaming as a whole, not just Rockstar and Take-Two. So many PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles are going to sell alongside of GTA 6 because it's not on last generation systems. It's not on PC. I mean, you need a PS5 or an Xbox Series if you want to play it day one. There are many people who would like to do that. In fall 2025 is pretty much when I was expecting this game to come out. I feel like they want to get this into stores, available September, October, ahead of like Christmas and the holiday season kicking off, get that initial wave of sales, and then take advantage of the holiday momentum going into December, and make sure they have that GTA 6 online, or just the next big Grand Theft Auto Online, ready to go for the holidays as well, because let's face it, they're going to sell a ton of whatever the successor to the shark cards are, right? Some kind of currency that you can buy and then use in-game immediately. It makes sense to have as a gift to give during the holidays. It's easy enough to buy one of those and put it in a stocking or something. So yeah, I feel like they're trying to plan all this out around that shopping season. But then on top of all the Grand Theft Auto 6 news, we did have something apparently from 2K that is getting set for reveal next month. We can see this posted up. This is over on the Summer Game Fest account, where they say 2K plans to reveal the next iteration in one of 2K's biggest and most beloved franchises at Summer Game Fest on Friday, June 7th. Okay, so a couple possibilities here. Of course, people are guessing all over the place online, but it seems to have narrowed down for many people to either a new BioShock game, Mafia 4, or Borderlands 4. I mean, either of those would technically work. I guess out of those three, the big one would be Borderlands 4 in terms of like their biggest franchise. But I would like to see a new BioShock. I think that'd be really, really cool to get a look at what exactly they would have planned out for that one. I don't think this is going to be a sports game. That's pretty obvious. We will see, a new NBA, that kind of thing from 2K. This would be something more in line with a franchise, as they mentioned, that's beloved, and I guess not necessarily yearly. So interesting stuff to keep an eye on there heading into next month with Summer Game Fest. But I mean, going into 2025 in general, having Grand Theft Auto 6 ready to roll to anchor the holiday season, along with, we already know, a new Call of Duty, a new Battlefield. These big-time sellers should be a lot of fun to close out the year in 2025. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Microsoft and Activision opening a new studio. We've talked about Microsoft recently closing down studios, but they did mention shifting around resources and reallocating funds, and I guess this is part of that. Anyway, we can see this is posted up. This is an excerpt from the site with Pure Xbox actually citing that, as well as some additional information. They say, built from the ground up, Elsewhere Entertainment is a premier and standalone studio dedicated to establishing an environment that inspires bold and diverse ideas. This team's underlying mission encourages everyone to explore and collaborate creatively to craft a franchise with an enduring legacy that resonates far beyond games. The new studio has full access to Activision's resources and tools as it continues to increase production and development. Elsewhere is opening its search for best-in-class talent from across the industry and around the world to help create a state-of-the-art and next-generation gaming experience. Okay, so it does seem that they're doubling down on narrative experiences. They have Uncharted, The Last of Us, Cyberpunk, Witcher 3, Destiny developers all forming this team, so it seems they're going to be crafting, I guess, a single player or just a narrative driven experience. I mean, that's the thing with these studio announcements. We really have no idea what they're going to create technically, and it's going to be years and years before we find out. But looking at this, I will say, kind of bad optics for them to be shutting down studio like Tango and then just opening one on the other side with Activision. But as they themselves mentioned, we're reallocating funds, we're shifting money around, and this is where they want to put it with Activision, which, I mean, hey, Activision does make a lot of money with Call of Duty, and they kind of want to build out further on some of their talent within Activision by making Elsewhere, this new studio. So we'll see how that works out, but I mean, really think about it. We're still waiting for the initiative to put out Perfect Dark. It could be a while before we see Elsewhere actually put something out, but at least we know they exist. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, would you sign up for PlayStation Plus Premium if PS2 games started to go into the service every month? 77% say no, 23% say yes. I mean, it's going to depend on the selection of PS2 games that they put into the service. They have to branch out a bit more than Star Wars Clone Wars, but there are a ton of games they can pick from, obviously. But really, if you think about it, you can also just buy them a la carte. You don't have to sign up for that. Well, we assume you won't have to sign up to the service to get to them, as many of these other games, PSP, PS1 titles, you could just buy outright and add to your library. So either way, this would work out for everyone then who does want PS2 games available on the PlayStation 5. The only thing I would like to see Sony do is allow you to take a PS2 disc and pop it into the system, call to the server, and then just download it that way, because we see Microsoft do that with the Xbox Series. I think it'd be pretty cool if Sony said, hey, if you have Ratchet and Clank and you pop it in the PS2, it'll just download it and you're good to go. Or you could, of course, buy it here digitally. I'm not expecting that. And technically, it wouldn't have worked with the PS1 or the PSP because you can't put a UMD in the system, and the PlayStation 5 can't read CDs, but it can read DVDs. So just a thought. I think it'd be kind of neat to see, but I'm not really expecting it. However, I do hope we get things rolling along here with the PS2, because that would add, I think, a lot of value to that PlayStation Plus Premium section, provided they pick some good games, of course. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Lenny, who says, no timestamps. What is this, the Middle Ages or something? So there's been this very weird thing that YouTube has done the past 2 Newswave episodes. For some reason, the description completely done, populated, everything ready to go when it's scheduled. And then the next morning, it's gone. I don't really know what's going on with YouTube, but apparently I'm not the only one who's noticed this, because I did ask around and see, and it seemed like that's just something that was happening with YouTube over the last couple of days. So I'm hoping that they've worked this out by, we'll say, the start of next week over the weekend. However, if you look down and there's no description, It's not necessarily because I forgot to put it there. It's just for some reason YouTube decided to completely delete it. And yes, that does mean that the timestamps go with it, but when I get a chance, I'll come back and add all of that in. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Was Nintendo apparently canceling Paper Mario orders on Amazon and Walmart? Let me know if you were someone who experienced that, and why do you think that's happening? And then also, what about the idea of PS2 games going into PlayStation Plus Premium? And let me know which titles you would like to see go into the service and become available on the PlayStation 5. And Grand Theft Auto 6, are you excited to hear that we could be looking at a big-time holiday 2025 for its release? Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.